Due to an unfortunate misunderstanding involving a sweetroll, Rob has incurred a bounty of 9,000 gold in every hold in Skyrim. This means two unfortunate things. One, Rob can never show his face in the Bannered Mare again, and two, Rob is the most wanted man in Skyrim. In order to fix this horrible mess, Rob needs professional help and will have to escape Whiterun's jail and make it all the way over to the Thieves Guild in Riften. So come along with me as I make a mad dash across half of Skyrim, become an accidental mercenary, and fight, steal, and sneak my way through this adventure. We start off, of course, in the Whiterun prison. Thankfully, due to an architectural oversight, there is a conveniently placed sewer grate that allows us to access an escape route. After jamming his one lockpick into the keyhole and jangling it around, Rob manages to unlock the grate. From here, it's a fairly straight shot through the underground to the guard barracks. You'll notice I said guard barracks, as in the place where all the guards hang out. This is where Rob runs into his first problem. You see, Rob is not a practiced thief, which is exactly what he would have to be in order to sneak unseen through this area. So instead, he settles on grabbing a few pieces of iron armor and bolting for the door. Unfortunately, the guards in this room aren't both blind and deaf, so they immediately spot Rob. And when given the option between death or prison, Rob wisely chooses the secret third option, which is to run away as fast as possible. Next, he makes a mildly panicked dash along the outer wall of Whiterun, and manages to make it to the main gate without too much trouble. From here, Rob does a little bit of medieval parkour and dodges a wild sword swing from a good Samaritan. Then, after helping himself to a few cabbages, he takes a few glancing hits from a nearby guard's arrows, but thankfully, the guards of Whiterun are soon too tired and too underpaid to give chase any further, and he manages to escape to the untamed wilds of Skyrim. Luckily, though Rob is unskilled and untrained, he does know his way around Skyrim, so he has no trouble navigating back to the main path, and then, after a brief consultation with a road sign, he's pointed in the right cardinal direction towards Riften. After traveling far enough away from Whiterun to feel a little braver, Rob turns his thoughts to material possessions, such as armor and weaponry. And after taking little notice of the horribly disfigured corpses upon stakes outside, Rob boldly steps inside Lost Knife Cave. Upon entering, he notices two common bandits engaged in conversation, and after smartly removing his clunky armor, he carefully sneaks over to them. However, as previously established, Rob is not a thief, so the bandits are quickly alerted to his presence. Rob manages to throw a beautiful but ineffectual uppercut and a few good jabs at one of the ruffians, then hastily grabs anything that isn't bolted down off a nearby table and runs away. Thankfully, the bandits are too stunned by the insanity of the situation to pursue Rob outside of the cave. Upon taking stock of his inventory, Rob realizes that he managed to snag a sword in all the commotion, and along with his scant 2 pieces of armor, he resembles a poor man's dragonborn. After a little more traveling along the main road and fighting off a few wolves, Rob once again begins to dream of a proper set of armor. This ill-conceived wish again coerces him into the clutches of a dangerous cave. Entering Snapleg Cave, Rob is overcome with a sense of foreboding, a sense that is quickly overcome by an intense desire for loot. Sneaking through the caverns, he spots an unguarded staff lying out in the open. However, upon going to retrieve the staff, and failing to sneak past a large spider, Rob alerts 2 witches nearby, who seem enraged at this intrusion upon their witchly activities. Making a hasty dash for the staff, Rob is relieved to discover that the staff paralyzes anyone unlucky enough to be hit by its magical effect. He then utilizes the staff to relieve the 2 witches of a few of their valuables, then beelines straight for the exit. After once again emerging into the beautiful outdoors, Rob decides to take a closer look at his newly procured magical weapon. It's here that he notices the staff only has 1 more charge, and so decides to save it for an emergency. Approximately 100 yards down the road, Rob encounters an allegedly wounded man named Telrav. The man beseeches him for his help, claiming that bandits ransacked his cart. Telrav even promises him a reward for his safe return to his camp nearby. However, Rob wasn't born yesterday, and realizes straight away that the man isn't actually injured, due to his impressive jogging speed and lack of blood on his clothes. Sensing a trap, Rob paralyzes the man and batters him around with a big metal stick until he stops moving. Rob then rifles through the man's pockets and retrieves his bow, gold, and clothes, which happen to be the right size. He's then off again once more, on the long road to Riften. After a lot of walking and combat with various unimportant woodland creatures, Rob happens upon a small camp. Thinking that perhaps he could retrieve a set of armor from a wayward hunter or adventurer, Rob sneakily closes in. However, he soon realizes that the group is too well armed to be attacked, so he decides on a more diplomatic method. Approaching the group, Rob is somehow mistakenly identified as a mercenary, sent to aid them in retaking the nearby castle. Leaning into the assumption, and enticed by the promise of a reward, as well as free rein to take anything he desires from the place, Rob claims to be the best, and accepts the proposal to clear the fort of bandits. It's here that Rob embraces his pragmatic preference for stealth and equips his recently procured bow. Masterfully shooting a conveniently placed pot of explosive oil, he manages to take out 3 bandits with one shot. They really should take those down at some point. Rob loots the, thankfully intact, corpses and finally acquires his long-desired set of armor. Next, a nearby, presumably deaf, bandit is interrupted in his idle thoughts by one of Rob's arrows sticking squarely into his jaw. However, this isn't enough to outright kill his target, so Rob is forced into close-quarters combat with him. And after launching arrow after arrow into the titanium bandit, he's finally defeated. Having looted his fill from the nearby chests and shelves, Rob slinks further into the depths of the castle. Here, he stumbles upon a bandit hard at work, smithing something. A rapid application of a newly acquired mace to the cranium is all that it takes to drop them, and Rob continues on his way. Further into the fort, after much sneaking around and luring bandits into traps, Rob comes face to face with the bandit chief. Unable to successfully take him down with a few stealthy arrows, Rob is forced to fight head-to-head with this mighty foe. After trading blows and chugging a few health potions, he finally manages to best him. But little did Rob know that that was only one of the 2 leaders of this infamous gang. Further in, we find Rob creeping up the stairs. He manages to take out another bandit with a well-placed arrow. But as he turns the corner, he realizes he's outnumbered against a superior foe. He manages to take down one bandit with a stealthy attack, but the other is the dreaded second leader of the bandit gang. Rob then proceeds to fight dirty by attacking and then strategically retreating. The bandit leader is so flummoxed by Rob's superior use of tactics that he puts up little resistance. Having bested the band of criminals' leaders, Rob is treated with the spoils of a hard-fought victory and is afforded access to the roof of the castle's tower. He uses this advantageous position to shoot a few well-placed arrows into the necks of the remaining bandits in the courtyard, thus clearing the castle for the entrance of its rightful owners. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how one man with no training managed to defeat a whole castle full of bandits. After talking to Stalio, Rob received his reward, a spell tome that allows him to shoot spectral arrows, a spell that is completely irrelevant as it was unused in the rest of the playthrough. Moving on from the castle, Rob returns to his walk towards Riften, a walk that was largely uneventful with the exception of 2 events, one being the appearance of a roving band of goblins, a rare sight in Skyrim, but no true match for Rob at this point, and the second being the activation of the Shadow Stone, a magical standing stone that grants the user the power to turn invisible once a day, with the only real catch being that the power deactivates when interacting with anything. Rob wisely chose this power in order to infiltrate Riften without being detected, which as it turns out was necessary, as all entrances to the city were being monitored by the guards. All but one, that is, an indirect entrance through Blackbriar Meadery. Approaching the docks, Rob activates his power and slips past 2 guards into the meadery. Upon entering, a local wood elf named Valandor makes a comment about Rob's health, informing Rob that he has been infected with rock joint, a disease that reduces effectiveness with melee weaponry, a fact that Rob would have loved to have known sooner. Slipping past the various workers of the meadery, Rob sneaks out the front door directly into Riften. Here, he uses a potion of invisibility, looted from the castle raiding fiasco, to sneak through the city unseen. Unbelievably though, a guard is able to sense Rob, perhaps by smell, and commands him to surrender. However, Rob simply refuses, and the guard is so impressed by his boldness, and furthermore, is unable to apprehend him as he is still invisible, that he is temporarily unable to react. Rob uses this moment of confusion to jump the railing into the murky canal of Lake Honrich. The guards give chase, but far too late, as Rob has already disappeared into the Ratway. In the dark embrace of the Riften sewers, Rob is now closer than ever to his goal, the Ragged Flagon, a dingy watering hole in the heart of the Thieves' Guild. Here, Rob will be able to erase his past and arrange a meeting with the Face Sculptor, a mage who specializes in, you guessed it, sculpting faces. The sweetroll incident will be a thing of the past, but first, Rob has to pick an expert lock, which after a few tries, he manages well enough. But then, Rob has one more enemy to dispose of, a low-life criminal who occupies the room next to the entrance. Firing an arrow directly into the head of the thug is somehow not enough, but as Rob fires the second one, the lowlife somehow dodges at an incredible speed out of the way. The pressure is on for Rob to conquer this one last obstacle, and as he fires his final arrow, his last enemy is defeated. With his victory achieved, Rob is able to stroll freely into the Ragged Flagon, completing his quest for redemption. Here, Rob will be able to start a new life, and will never have to think about sweet rolls again. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, stay curious.